You know how sometimes life feels like it keeps teaching you the same lesson over and over?
Oh, absolutely. Like you think you've got it figured out, and then bam, you're right back there wrestling with the same thing again. It's, yeah, very human.
It really is. And that's kind of what we're diving into today. We're looking at this idea of secrets of adulthood, these concise truths, aphorisms, basically. Our sources are Gretchen Rubin's upcoming book, Secrets of Adulthood, and also an excerpt from Life in Five Senses.
Right. And the goal really is to unpack these secrets. What do they mean? And crucially, how can they maybe give you a bit of a shortcut, help you understand human nature, habits, happiness, in a way that actually works for you?
Exactly. A shortcut sounds good because that relearning cycle can be exhausting. So how did Gretchen Rubin get started with this? What exactly are these secrets of adulthood?
Well, apparently she first started collecting them for her daughters, trying to
Oh,
pass on some wisdom, maybe save them some trouble.
that makes sense.
But then she realized, wait a minute, I need these reminders just as much.
Mhm.
She kept bumping up against the same lessons herself. Like, she mentions reminding herself, Gretchen, remember, working is one of the most dangerous forms of procrastination.
Huh. I think many of us can relate to that one.
Totally.
Mm.
And what's interesting is how she shapes these lessons. She uses the aphorism.
Okay, so define that for us again. An aphorism is.
It's basically a short, sharp statement that holds a bigger truth. It's not quite a proverb, which is more like anonymous folk wisdom.
Mm.
You can usually point to who came up with an aphorism.
Blah.
And the point is to distill a big idea into just a few words. Makes you think, makes things clearer. Saying less suggests more.
And she actually uses these, like in real life decisions.
Yeah, she gives this great example about getting a dog. The family made lists, pros, cons. Everything was totally balanced. They were completely stuck.
Been there.
Right. Then she remembered one of her own secrets. Choose the bigger life. And suddenly, boom, clarity. They got the dog.
Wow. That's a simple phrase, but really powerful in that moment.
Exactly. And that's why these things work, why they've stuck around. They're easy to remember, first off. Short, punchy. They make you pause and think, do I agree with that?
Right. It forces engagement.
And they force you to be precise in your own thinking. If you can boil a complex thought down like that, you probably understand it pretty well.
So she really tries to distill everything she learns into these.
That seems to be the goal, yeah. Though she admits sometimes she slips in what she calls a mere observation. Something like, the tulip is an empty flower. Which is, interesting, but maybe not quite a universal secret of adulthood.
Okay, fair enough. A little poetic license. Moving into some of the actual secrets, one big theme seems to be that there's no single magic bullet for happiness or habits.
Absolutely. She uses this great analogy, cooking an egg. If someone asks the best way to cook an egg.
You'd say, well, how do you like your eggs? Scrambled, fried, poached?
Exactly. And her point is, it's the same with happiness and habits. There isn't one right way. The answer depends entirely on the individual.
Which brings us straight to self-knowledge, right?
Yes. It's fundamental. You can't build a life that truly fits you unless you know your own values, your temperament, what actually interests you.
But that's surprisingly hard. Why is knowing ourselves so tricky?
Well, partly because we just assume we know, right? We hang out with ourselves all day long.
True.
But we get easily distracted. We focus on how we wish we were or how we think we should be, or maybe what other people think we are. And all that noise kind of obscures the reality of who we actually are right now.
Okay, so if happiness is so personal, what kind of secrets address that complexity? You mentioned one earlier that sounded, well, almost paradoxical. Happiness doesn't always make us feel happy.
Yeah, that one really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? It suggests that deep satisfaction or living a meaningful life might not always feel like bubbly joy.
So it could be like quiet contentment or the satisfaction of overcoming something hard.
Exactly. Or even peace that comes from accepting something difficult. It's a broader definition of happiness than just feeling good all the time.
Then there are these two that seem related. One of the best ways to make yourself happy is to make others happy. And the flip side, one of the best ways to make others happy is to be happy yourself.
It's like a feedback loop, isn't it?
Mm.
Helping others definitely boosts our own well-being. But also, if you're constantly running on empty and miserable, it's really hard to genuinely show up for other people. You need both sides of that coin.
And this one, be selfish if only for selfless reasons. Be selfless if only for selfish reasons.
That sounds like a whittle. How do you make sense of that?
I think it's about seeing how intertwined our needs are. Taking care of yourself, being selfish enough to get sleep,
Mhm.
do things you enjoy actually gives you the energy and capacity to be generous and present for others. That's the selfish for selfless reasons bit.
And the other way around, being selfless, helping others, contributing that often brings a huge sense of personal satisfaction and meaning, which directly fuels your own happiness. So it serves you too. It's not either.
That makes sense. And one more in this vein. Nothing takes us out of ourselves more than being of use.
Yeah, that speaks to that deep human need for purpose, for contributing something. It also touches on something else interesting. Sometimes changing habits means changing your identity.
How so?
Well, think about the writer James Age. Doctors told him, serious heart condition, you have to cut back on the drinking and smoking. But he couldn't. He actually wrote that doing so would mean becoming the kind of person I am not and have always detested.
Wow, so his habits were completely tied up with who he felt he was.
Exactly. He died young, at 45. It's a stark reminder that if your habits clash with the identity you want, you might need to examine that identity itself. Does it still serve you?
Which leads nicely to the idea that good intentions aren't enough. Rubin says good intentions mean nothing unless they inspire practical actions.
Right. And also, what we do every day matters more than what we do once in a while. It's about the small, consistent things.
It's very practical.
It is. And related to that is the idea that sometimes it's actually easier to change your environment or your schedule than to change yourself directly.
Oh, interesting. Like setting things up so the good habit is the easier option.
Precisely. And don't wait for motivation to strike. Don't expect to be motivated by motivation. That's a big one. Action often creates motivation, not the other way around.
So it comes back to structure.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
As she puts it, habits are the invisible architecture of everyday life. Change the architecture, change the life.
Okay, so if self-knowledge is step one, strong relationships seem to be step two for happiness. Seems like everyone agrees on this, from ancient philosophers to modern scientists.
Yeah, it's fundamental. We need those close bonds. We need to feel like we belong, someone to talk to, support.
Yeah.
It's just core to being human.
And a key insight for making relationships work better is accepting differences.
Definitely. Understanding that people may hold different preferences, need different strategies, and express different perspectives. If we forget that, we get easily hurt or confused or annoyed when people don't react the way we would.
Saves a lot of grief, probably.
It really does. Just accepting that difference is normal, not wrong.
And building on that, there's a challenging one about love itself. Love is unconditional and love is demanding. That sounds like another paradox.
It does, but think about the example she gives with Roseanne Cash and her husband, John Leventhal. They worked together musically. After she sang a take, he didn't just say, great job, he said, I would have pushed you harder.
Ooh, tough love.
Kind of. It's like true love accepts you completely as you are, flaws and all. And it wants the absolute best for you, which sometimes means pushing you, challenging you to grow. It's both.
That requires a lot of trust.
Immense trust. She also shares other insights, like how just acknowledging someone's unhappiness, we make people happier by acknowledging that they're not feeling happy, can be more helpful than trying to cheer them up immediately.
Just validating it.
Exactly. Or the frank observation, we care for many people we don't particularly care for, which acknowledges those obligatory relationships we all navigate.
Uh-huh. Yes.
And a practical tip for friendships. One of the best ways to find friends is to make friends with the friends of our friends. Leverage existing connections.
Simple but effective. Now let's talk about fitting in. Or, more accurately, not fitting in. That feeling seems almost universal.
It really does. And the secret here is kind of mind-bending. When we feel as though we don't fit in, we fit right in.
How does that work? The Ringo Starr story illustrates this. Well.
Perfectly. He briefly quits the Beatles, goes to John Lennon and says, basically, I feel left out, you three are so close. And John says, what? I thought it was you three who were close.
No way.
Yep. Ringo tells Paul the same thing. Paul says, I thought it was you three. Apparently, Ringo didn't even bother talking to George after that. Everyone felt like the outsider.
That's incredible. So we all feel like the odd one out sometimes.
It seems so. Which connects to another secret. We're more like other people than we may imagine. We think we're unique in our quirks or feelings or even our strategies.
Like the grocery store example?
Yeah. Everyone tries to beat the Thanksgiving rush by going on Tuesday, making Tuesday the actual busiest day, or picking the middle stall in the bathroom because you assume the end ones are used most, but everyone thinks that, so the middle ones get the most traffic.
We're all trying to be clever in the same way.
Pretty much. It makes you wonder how much of our uniqueness is just part of the shared human condition.
And speaking of shared experiences versus individual ones, perception is key. What we see depends on where we stand.
That classic traveler by the river joke captures it, doesn't it? Shouting, "How do I get to the other side?" when he's already there.
Exactly. Perspective is everything.
And words shape that perspective. Words matter, metaphors matter. Think about renaming the Cape of Storms to the Cape of Good Hope. Instantly changes the feeling, encourages exploration.
Or Churchill fiddling with names for his fleet. Mosquito, hornet, shark. Each one carries a different psychological weight.
Right. So the takeaway for us is maybe we can shift our own perspective, our own approach to things, just by consciously choosing different words to describe them. Change the language, change the reality, in a way.
That's a powerful tool. So if we've shifted our perspective, maybe using different words, the next step is often action, right?
Yeah.
Getting things done. What are the secrets around accomplishment?
A really central one comes from Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. Work worth doing. That was her answer for a happy life.
And she defined work really broadly.
Super broadly. Your job, yes, but also work at home, relationship work, community work, even working on yourself. It's about finding purpose and meaning in how you spend your energy.
And that purpose has to align with your values, connecting back to self-knowledge.
Absolutely. And just like with happiness, there's no single right way to get things done. Some people need deadlines and accountability partners. Others need total freedom. You have to figure out what works for you.
Does work worth doing always mean hard work? Is there a secret about maybe enjoyment being key?
There is. The best kind of work is the work you would do for fun and for free. Think of Michael Jordan having that love of the game clause put in his contract so he could play pickup basketball anytime.
So passion is a driver.
A huge driver. And it challenges that idea that just grinding harder is always better. Remember Laurence Olivier and Dustin Hoffman? Hoffman stays up for days method acting, looking exhausted for a scene.
And Olivier says,
"My dear boy, why don't you just try acting?" Sometimes effectiveness isn't about brute force effort. It connects to play is the work of childhood, and maybe work is the play of adulthood. Like Agatha Christie realizing she was muttering plots to herself, just like she used to mutter make-believe stories as a kid.
finding that flow state almost. Okay, but what about when we can't get started? Procrastination. We touched on it, but are there specific secrets for tackling that beast?
Oh yeah, some really direct ones. We already heard working is one of the most dangerous forms of procrastination.
Guilty as charged. Busy work instead of the real work.
Right. Then there's nothing is more exhausting than the task that's never started. Just the dread of it looming over you.
Ugh, yes, that mental energy drain.
And the killer. What can be done at any time is often done at no time. If there's no deadline, it just floats.
So true. Why do we do it? Is it perfectionism?
Often, yes. But the insight here is, perfectionism is driven not by high standards, but by anxiety. Fear of not being good enough stops us from even starting.
That rings true. And you mentioned procrastinating.
Yes, that sudden, urgent need to organize your desk or clear your inbox right now instead of tackling that big, scary project. It feels productive, but it's a delay tactic.
Okay, enough diagnosis. Are there practical, simple secrets to help break these cycles?
Thankfully, yes. Lots of simple secrets. Like if you can't find something, clean up. Simple, but it works. It reduces that friction.
Okay, practical. What else?
Outer order can contribute to inner calm. Tidying your space can genuinely make you feel mentally clearer.
I believe that.
For momentum, every to-do list should include one item that can be crossed off in the first 5 minutes. Get a quick win
Nice.
to fight clutter. Don't buy things until you need them. Store them at the store. Saves money and space.
With discipline.
And the classic, follow the 1-minute rule. If you can do a task in less than 1 minute, do it without delay. Don't let those tiny things pile up.
Like putting a dish straight in the dishwasher.
Exactly. These seem small, but they add up. They respect your future self, reduce that daily mental load, and free you up for the bigger stuff, the work worth doing.
So we've talked about happiness, habits, relationships, getting things done, but life also involves these constant tensions, right? Dilemmas that don't really have easy answers.
Totally. Like wanting to live in the moment versus planning for the future, or wanting to play it safe versus needing to take risks to grow. These aren't problems you solve once. They're tensions you learn to manage.
So the conflict doesn't necessarily get easier?
Maybe not the conflict itself, but we get better at navigating it. We learn to hold competing values, make choices, accept trade-offs. And that skill helps us make those choices that lead to what she calls the bigger life.
Stepping into growth, deeper connections.
Exactly. Putting your values out there, even when it's complicated.
Now, something that really struck me from the source material was this shift from these sort of intellectual secrets to something much more visceral, the senses. There's a powerful story about an eye doctor visit.
Oh yeah, that's from Life in Five Senses. It's quite something. She goes for a routine eye exam, totally normal, and then the doctor just casually mentions, oh, by the way, you're at higher risk for a detached retina.
Just like that.
Just like that. She'd never heard it before, and she was just stunned. It completely changed everything in that instant.
How so? What happened?
She describes walking home through New York City right after, and suddenly everything was incredibly vivid. Like the saturation dial was turned way up. She noticed the exact shade of the gray sky, the texture of purple kale in a shop. She heard every distinct sound sirens. Jackhammers smelled exhaust fumes and roasting peanuts. An ordinary walk became, as she puts it, transcendent.
Why? Just because her sight was suddenly potentially threatened?
That seems to be it. The potential loss made her acutely aware of the gift of sight, a gift she realized she'd totally taken for granted.
And that led to a bigger realization.
Yes. She realized she'd been taking good care of her body, eating right, exercising, but she hadn't been truly appreciating it. Not savoring the experience of being alive in her body each day. She felt like she was always stuck in my head.
Lost in thought, preoccupied.
Exactly. She even mentions rushing through taking a family photo, realizing, ironically, that the whole point was to see her daughters in that moment, but she barely looked at them because she was focused on just getting the picture taken.
Oof. That's relatable.
Isn't it? And it led her to this core idea. Her body, through the senses, is her essential connection to the world and to other people. It's how we experience everything.
So it raises that question for all of us. Are we really present? Are we noticing the world through our senses, or are we just numbly going through the motions, lost in our thoughts?
Right, and her response, her resolution, was to consciously decide to engage her senses more, to study them, pay attention, try to shake off that chronic fog of preoccupation, as she calls it.
To live more in her body, basically.
Yes, and to relish sensations just for the pleasure of sensing, not just as input for getting tasks done. And the idea is that this sensory awareness doesn't just make life richer, it actually leads to deeper knowledge of the world, of others, and ultimately of ourselves.
It's about waking up to what's already here.
Exactly. Waking up to the richness of everyday reality. Hashtag, tag, tag, outro.
Wow. So we've covered a lot. From these concise aphorisms, these secrets of adulthood offering practical wisdom, to this really profound call to engage more fully with our senses. It feels like a powerful combination for living a richer and more present life.
It really does. The aphorisms offer mental shortcuts and clarity, and the sensory awareness grounds us in the physical reality of being alive.
And like Gretchen Rubin collecting her secrets, we all have our own, don't we? Lessons learned the hard way, observations about life. Maybe listening today has brought some of your own personal secrets to mind. What insights have you gathered on your journey?
Yeah, that's a great takeaway. And perhaps one final thought to leave you with, building on that sensory idea. If your body truly is your essential connection to the world, what sensations might you be missing right now? What could you discover if you just paused, even for a moment, to truly perceive?